This is the Pulsetto, and while it may look like a shock collar, it's actually supposed to help reduce your stress and anxiety and improve your sleep by stimulating your vagus nerve. But does it really work? I've been testing the Pulsetto for about a month, and I have a lot of thoughts. And while the company did send me this device to review, you know the drill on this channel, my thoughts and opinions are 100% my own. So let's dive right in. Straight out of the box, you get the device itself, an instruction manual, a charging cable, which is a USB-C. I'm so glad it's not a micro USB, and you get a tube of conductive gel. You've also got to download the Pulsetto app onto your phone, and once you have it open, you hit the button on the side of the device to connect it via Bluetooth. And it connects very quickly. Then you're ready to put the gel on either side of your neck, or you could put it directly on the little metal balls, whatever these things are called. And then you choose what type of session you want to do in the app. There are a few different options, and you're good to go. And I think it's worth mentioning that you can change the duration and the intensity of the session at any point. It's not a one and done thing. If you've ever used a TENS unit, that's exactly what this feels like. It doesn't hurt, but it feels buzzy. And like an intense buzzy, like you can feel it in your muscles. And there are some muscle contractions that might come with it. The instruction manual has said that's okay. But these electric currents are what stimulate the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve is really cool. It's one of the longest nerves in the body, and it touches a lot of major organs like your heart, your lungs, your stomach. It controls your parasympathetic nervous system, which means it's responsible for moving your body from fight and flight mode to rest and digest. So using the Pulsetto is kind of like giving your body a little like, hey, everything's okay message. But there are some important things that I wish I had realized during that first week of using the Pulsetto. For what it's worth, I felt like I was doing everything right based on what was said in the instruction manual, but I wasn't feeling any different after completing a session. Now, Pulsetto's website says that you may start to feel the effects and see the benefits of using the device between 1 and 30 days, so a month. And at some point, you may start to see an increase in your heart rate variability or your HRV. And if you're not familiar with HRV, it basically reflects your body's ability to adapt to stress and recover from stress. Think about it as a measure of stress resilience. So I knew I had to be patient, but I'm a human and I am a sucker for the instant gratification that I wasn't getting. And not to mention, you have to get the goo off of your neck and off of the device after each session. I was also noticing that sometimes my facial muscles would twitch or contract like on their own. It's a really weird feeling, and the instruction manual does say that neck contractions can happen, but it doesn't say anything about the face. That was my indicator that something wasn't right. So I started looking into exactly where the Pulsetto should be positioned on your neck. And the manual isn't very helpful. It literally says, position the device in the correct place on the neck over the session location. What is the correct position? Looking at diagrams of where the vagus nerve is on the neck and knowing that everyone's gonna be a little bit different, I realized the Pulsetto should be positioned a little further back than like right in the front of my neck. But there was a problem. If I moved it to a better position on my neck, it would just move back to the front, so I would have to physically hold it in place for the entire session if I wanted it to stay put. Not great. And thanks to Reddit, I discovered I'm not the only person who has encountered this issue. So you can expand the Pulsetto if you have a larger neck, but if you have a smaller neck, sucks to suck. But then I saw somebody from the Pulsetto team commented on a few of these threads and suggested to put a small towel behind your neck and then put the Pulsetto on, and that should resolve the issue. So that is what I've been doing ever since, and it has made such a big difference. For starters, the positioning feels a lot better. It actually feels more intense, but in like a good way. And I'm not having any of those facial muscle contractions anymore. So that's good. And I don't have to hold it in place, so I can relax, and that's how it should be. And one of the best things about having the towel there is once I'm done with the session, it's just there to use and clean up my neck and clean off the device. I don't have to get up. And I love that, especially when I'm using it before bed. I don't have to get out of bed. Sold. At this point, I've been using the Pulsetto for about a month, which means it's time for pros and cons. Let's start with the pros. Based on my experience, and this is probably the most important pro, I think the Pulsetto has genuinely helped me manage my stress. Now that I've spent more time using it and I know how to position it properly on my neck, I can actually feel my body move from that fight or flight mode to rest and digest. I've noticed this especially when I'm feeling stressed or anxious about something. It's usually work related. And a lot of times I'll turn it on and start a session and I'll continue working. Probably not a best practice. I should probably focus on my breath or meditate, but I'll keep working. And I'm amazed that I can feel my body relax and that little anxiety bubble that's hanging around my chest area, that will slowly dissipate. It's pretty wild how effective it's been. I've also been using the Pulsetto every night before bed, and while I generally don't have issues falling asleep, there are some nights where I'm just a little amped up, and it helps me wind down and shift into sleep mode so much faster than I would without it. And more importantly, I've had way fewer instances of waking up in the middle of the night and not being able to get back to sleep due to racing thoughts. That is something I have an issue with, and I've been really happy to see an improvement. Now, I was hoping to see a significant improvement in my HRV, and while it has improved and stayed pretty consistent after the first week of using the Pulsetto, I think there are too many other factors that affect my HRV that come into play. So based on the month I've been using the Pulsetto, I would say that the effects to my HRV are inconclusive. Moving on to the other pros, the Pulsetto is very quick and easy to use as far as connectivity and navigating the app. When you turn the device on, it instantly connects, and selecting and starting a session is pretty intuitive. I've also been impressed with the battery life. The website says the battery should last about a week with regular use, and I have found that to be very accurate. While there is a premium version of the app that has different breathing exercises, meditations, and so on, you don't need the premium version to be able to use the core functionality of the device. And that is something that is really important and should not be taken for granted in this day and age, sadly. Let's move on to the cons. There are some notable ones. Some of these will not come as a surprise. The first one, the Pulsetto device is not neck inclusive. And while I am used to having to put a little towel behind my neck at this point, and it's not that big of a deal, I just don't like that I have to do that. And I wish they had put that recommendation in the manual or just made it easier to find rather than me having to discover it on a Reddit post. Which brings me to my next con. I think Pulsetto should provide clearer instructions about where the device should rest on your neck and what you should not feel. I know that everybody is a little bit different, but having some guidelines would have been really helpful. Communication and education are key. Moving on, the power button flashes during sessions. This is not a big deal in the daytime, I don't even notice it, but at night, especially when the lights are off, it's bright and kind of annoying. And the last con is you have to use and wipe off conductive gel anytime you use the Pulsetto. Once you get in the habit of using it, it's not a big deal, but it's still one more thing you've got to do. And just so you know, the website says that the tube of gel that comes with the device will last up to a month. But I think it can last you way longer. I've been able to apply about half of what they recommend on each side of my neck for a session, and I haven't had any issues. Again, everybody is going to be a little bit different, so I think precision is key here. And you can buy more gel through their website, or if you want to use different gel, you could just get it on Amazon. As long as it's conductive gel, you should be good to go. But all in all, I've been happy with the gel that they provide. I just don't love that you have to use it for the device to work. While I had a bit of a rocky start using the Pulsetto, I am really glad I stuck with it. It's a great tool that has significantly helped me transition out of a state of stress, and at this point, I genuinely really like using it. And I'm motivated to continue using it because it has been so effective. But I do want to emphasize that this is a tool and not a band-aid. It's still important to incorporate other stress management techniques into your day. And fun fact, there are other ways to stimulate your vagus nerve naturally that don't require a device like this. I will leave a link to an article in the description below in case you're interested in learning more. But if you want to give the Pulsetto a try, I strongly recommend playing around with the positioning on your neck and to give it some time. And the company was kind enough to give me a discount code to share with you, and I will put that in the description below as well. And a huge thank you to them for letting me test out the Pulsetto. It has far exceeded my expectations. With that said, I've picked out a few other videos I thought you might be interested in, and I will see you in the next one.